In the novel Dance with the Devil, Gable has you both, Kato and Chris, as working with a triad group operating in New York's Chinatown. Are the triads a real element of New York's Chinatown, or is that just Gable House making stuff up again?
I can safely say, through my knowledge, what I was told and what I was taught and what I lived with the Chinatown and the Chinese, the triads is what we call the tongue, and it is pretty much very real. They don't like to show themselves to outsiders. All the operations are all secretive, and even the members of the Chinese who are not tongues would not like to say much or be involved because there is a lot of negative things that are attached with their behavior. Example, you say too much, you may get hurt. You do the wrong things, they will hurt you. If you think that leaving New York City, where I'm based, if you go to Boston or the surrounding Washington, D.C., which is maybe 400 miles away, 200 miles away, they're there too. If you go to Los Angeles and San Francisco, they're there too. And the real truth of the matter is that the tongues are actually based, and it was out of Hong Kong. All right, and this is where all their top leaders are. They give the orders over there, and everybody in the United States or even London, I understand, which is Great Britain, or even in Canada, where you have like Toronto, Vancouver, you will jump also because, again, no matter where you go, no matter how far you go, there's still somebody somewhere that is a member, and they will take to complete their membership or their belonging with the triads to do what is necessary to keep them powerful, which means money, maybe prostitution, maybe drugs, gambling, and other vices that they can earn. And they will, again, capitalize on that. And that's how they survive. There are many good things that they do too, but some of the good things are most likely outweighed by the negative behavior and their process of doing things in the society. It's very unusual. You have to almost live it to understand it. It is so interwoven that everything you do, you just have to be careful. You just can't go and do something and not knowing that you're going to trip on them and accidentally, what's that word we'd like to use, that you're going to some way maybe inflame them or dishonor them, maybe do something that you're going to be sorry for and not even know you've done it. That's one of the worst things. And being, let's say, American Chinese, it's even worse because you're far removed from the culture of understanding what is right or wrong. And sometimes some of the things that you do could be wrong will be overseen by the American or the American established Chinese, while the Chinese who are really involved in and endowed in that, they're very serious and they take it very serious, and they will do stupid things. I mean, it's hard to explain. That's why, again, there's the Chinese way of the old way from the mainland and Hong Kong to everybody who might have removed themselves and living outside of these, outside of China, whether you're in North America, whether you're in Europe, which they have quite a few of them. I only used London before to cite one major city, but they're in Paris, they're everywhere. They're in the Netherlands. Wherever there's Chinese, there is one. Even in Africa, I understand there's even one even in Trinidad, our school's based on, but I don't associate with them, so I kind of like eliminate myself from them by not seeing them, even though I should go say hello to them. But then they look at me that I'm American born and I'm from the United States. They don't even involve with me, but they keep an eye on me as well. I mean, again, the triads. I mean, I can go on and on to say, but again, there is a reality. I won't say one of my elder members in my family was a member of one of the two major established one, which has been rivaling, and the time they got to the United States. And I also understand that during the times of the 1930s and so on, just before the war, it was a pretty hectic time for a lot of Chinese in Chinatown by the tongues, the older members. We're not talking about young kids. We're talking about men in their 30s, 40s, and even fighting up to the 50s for the rights of establishment and business or territorial, whatever they deem fit to fight about, whatever it may be. Usually it's about money and business. Um, as far as the women, they care less. They believe that could be brought with as long as you have money. As far as anything you own physically, they would care less. All they worry is about money because money will replace or reestablish whatever you once either had or lost. I mean, that's how they think. Uh, and then, like it says, when I came down to Chinatown in the 60s, exactly the early mid-60s, I rivaled against the Chinese gangs of Chinatown, New York City, which was then either some way or another that was backed up by the elders of the Tongs, or they were being membership by the elders of the Tongs, or they were part of the group, which you can't pinpoint because you can't say. And some of these organizations would then shift alliances with each other, which is kind of weird. And things just happen. And that's why Chinatown was the way it is from the 60s all the way up to even, I would say, the late 90s, before the federal came in and made a super bust and got rid of some of the gangs. But I do believe after they got rid of the Toisan and the Cantonese people that were the Tongs and the Triads, then came the new generation of the Fukienese. And then there was even another group of triads, you can say, which is the Vietnamese Chinese, or you can say the Chinese Vietnamese. I don't know how you want to put it, but let's say they were the Chinese people that went and fought the Vietnam War, sent in by the Communist Chinese during the Vietnam conflict. They were there for like 10 years, so a lot of things happened. They had offsprings, and when they came to America, I remember one of them said to one of the law enforcement agents when he was arrested, he says, "You didn't do anything to us in Vietnam. I doubt you can do us anything here while in the United States." And in some way it's true, because they continue to strive on and live on. As a matter of fact, a lot of members were called BTKs, which means born to kill. And a lot of them have served federal time then. I would say now that we're talking about year 2016, some of them should be out because some of them might have served a good period of either 10 to 25 years for whatever they committed. So I guess has elapsed by now. Some of them may be in, but a lot of them might have been paroled out now. You know, this was the Vietnamese Chinese. And then to safely say, right behind the tails of them being disbanded, the BTK, then came in the Fukienese. The Fukienese is a group of people. I have a lot of friends who are Fukienese. Again, like people, some of them, they do what they do. You may not know. That could be your next door neighbor, friendly as hell, but what they do, you may not want to be to know them afterwards. Again, one of the Fukienese big business is called the slave trade, where they bring in people, whether they're men or women, from overseas. What is documented, we all know, was the Golden Venture when they had that female, which I won't mention her name, but you can find it on the internet. She was called the Snakehead. That was her real title. She was involved in bringing in the trade, and unfortunately, or maybe fortunate, however you want to put it, what was exposed is that the Golden Venture, when it got grounded, when they opened it up, they saw all the people that was being brought over. You know, the sad thing is that that's only one of many different boats, you know, that came in, except that boat got grounded. So who knows how many other boats and how many other thousands of people that are coming here illegally through the trade, and what they were used afterwards when they came here. Like the females might go into prostitution, they may do other things that are illicit, and the men used to work for nothing at some of these businesses that established in the United States. And so it's kind of hard to say, was it that the usage of people, which then helped the Asian propagate the financial, or was it that they just had to do it personally because if not, they would get hurt or the family members got hurt? So they look very industrial. They're always working, but is the industrialness of them was, again, propagated by the fact that they had to make sure that they stayed alive, their family weren't going to get hurt back in old country, or they were just here unknown or maybe even kidnapped, in which they do, taken right off the streets wherever they're from and thrown on a boat as another piece of living person or thing, as they would consider it, to work outside of China. This is not only United States, I'm pretty sure they're elsewhere too. This is a big business, and it's always been a big business. So again, that was the Fukinese things that they were doing up to the present. So they're all part of a triad, different than others. Every group in China, they had their own triad. And when I speak triads, I'm speaking about, I guess, the notorious group of the Cantonese or the Southern Chinese. And the Fukinese is considered Southern. I know that the Northern people, what we call the Mandarins, which also may include the Shanghainese, which is another group of people, including the Taiwanese, I know they have their, they consolidated groups that they do what they do. I don't know if we can call them triads. Like I said, when things happen, it just happened. It looks so natural that we can't even say, yes, they're involved, no, they're not involved. All right, so I'm not sure if I've said enough. I'm not sure if anything else could be added, but there are a lot of things I know which I don't want to say on camera.
So basically, did Gable House make stuff up about the triads, or are they real?
I don't know, because I haven't really read his stuff yet, I'll be honest. I've read some of his stuff, and known Mr. Gable House, I know that he wrote in some things that are really good in some of his other books, but I haven't got time to really crack down. When I read, I like to sit down and indulge to almost become part of that writing. This is how I am, and I haven't really gotten down to really focus up on it. But knowing him, I'm pretty sure, I don't think he made things up. I know that he's been around the block, as we say, that his writing will probably be very accurate. You know, I know him as a man, and I don't think to say out of line, I don't think he will make things up that will cost him, let's say, his career or his respect as a person. And that's the reason why I still keep my contact with the man, you know, which I have very few contacts, even though in those thousands, there's only maybe 2 handfuls that I can say that I can turn and respect people with some realistic authority.